looking good, all glued, and there's our two spines and our little space in between. So we're going to now put a card here, and we want a file folder if you have a file card. If you don't, or any card would do, but what we want to do is make sure that it's going to fit nice. So I'm going to consider the spine and then put my piece in, and that's going to just peek over a little bit. So I took a piece of regular cardstock and fit it to size, and I had a little extra, so I just folded it over to make this a little stronger, glued it, and now I'm going to use my envelope punch board because it makes these little cut divots here. You see that? Can you see that? And if you mark it, you'll get the punch. So I watch this and I'll see. So I'm going to put this in here, and I need this mark. Where's my mark now? I can just estimate. I'm not that fussy, but let's say I put that in the center there. So that should give me, if I go to the 4-inch mark, that should give me a 1-inch little tab. So I'm going to do that. And ta-da! So then I have this little extra bit on the sides here. So I'm just going to mark it, cut it, and get rid of it. Okay, so then I have this. Looks like a file. I've got this double strength on the back side, or the front side, whatever I choose. Next, we need a piece of paper that's going to be long enough so that you can, we're going to glue this onto the front here. And I have a little weird edge on this one, so I'm going to just put that down onto there. I'm going to glue that on. Make like a file folder. And I hope I've got my markings all right. So what I had to do first was mark. What I've got to do is mark that mark a spot there, so I'm going to have a small bit of a small spine here. So again, do another small spine. This one's about 1/8 of an inch, I think. Let me just measure to be sure here. Just over, oops, about 1/4 of an inch. All right, so then we're going to glue this onto here, and then we have this page to work with. So just take your page, you know where you're going to put it on your file card there, and make a little mark so you're going to know where to score that. So I want that to come right up to the top. Nice. And so I want this to fold right here, and I want a 1/4 inch fold. All right, so I again take the scoreboard, and I will score that on that mark. So I just put it in. As long as it's straight up here, it's going to be parallel here. So I score that mark, and then I go over 1/4 and score that mark. And then we have that page ready to be pasted in. So we're just going to paste along the edge and this bottom edge, because we want the top open and we want the bottom, because we don't really know right now what we're going to do with that. So we're going to just leave that option open for now. But the other thing that I think we will do is cut a bit of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a bit. So our middle is around here. So we can just cut a bit of a thumb. I like a bigger one. And we can line that up, even that up. So then we have a nice little cutout there. And then we just glue that page onto there, right where we want it. Lining that up, and lining that up. So I'm a little off here, so I'm gonna come back and just trim that out by hand. Okay, I'm not really happy with that look because it's off, but that's okay. I'm going to be okay with that. I'm just going to make sure that my bottom is up to that score line. That's the most important thing, because I can cover this up with lace or whatever later. I just want to get the basics down. All right. So then we're going to move on to what's going to happen on here. All right. So when we got this on here and we're folding it at that spot, and we've got our little gusset right there. When we look, we've got it hanging over like that. So we want to make sure that we make this next line that's going to go in there, and it's going to be less than this, so it's not going to stick out past that. So I need at least half an inch right there, at least half an inch before, and I'll make another what do you call this line here? Oh my gosh, my brain. Sorry about that. I had something else going through. Okay, sorry about that. I think what was throwing me off is that this line was crooked and I could really see it. So I straightened that up. And now we'll do this crease mark here. Again with our bone folder. And we will make a crease, and I want it to be at least a half an inch. So I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch so that I have a nice flap on there that I can attach things to. And once it's folded, it's not going to get in the way when the book closes. So when that's on there, it's not going to be in the way here. Right, when it's attached here. All right, so we'll move on. So since I said I was going to try and use these backdrop pages, there's not really many in here that I really like. There's a lot of these people photos, and I don't use those kind of things too much, but I have found this one, and I thought I could make a nice pocket out of this. So I'm going to make the pocket fairly large. Like I said, I'm trying to follow what she does, but just kind of go from there. So this has got to be over a bit from your fold, and it has to be fairly large because there's another little piece that goes up here. What I'm going to make with these, she used something else, but this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to just cut this down here and across here, so I'll have a nice pocket. I know this is really pretty too, but I don't want to use this because I've already got florals here, and this is a bit, so I'll save those for something later. So let me cut this piece and then we'll glue it on. Well, just one thing that I have learned, and I have to keep reminding myself, is that it's going to be different when it's finished. So don't get hung up in a lot of this process, but you know, think about it a bit, like, you know, your colors and what pages might be looked at, and you know how you might cover that up, what that's going to look like if you did cover it up. because you do cover up a lot of stuff as you go. But for now, I think I'm gonna just go with this. But I really don't know if I want to waste that page because it could be really nice later. Let me see if I can find something else. Okay, so went through some scraps, and this is some other cardstock. I think that's the other thing to think about is if you know about getting hung up and all of that stuff. As long as you're considering the weight, I think, and you know, a little bit about the color, that so that it's going to go nice, but more about the weight of the cards and whatnot, that your pages and stuff that you're putting in. So I couldn't just put a piece of paper here because this is going to be a pocket, so it has to be fairly substantial. And I found this beautiful old paper pack that I had that I really liked, and I thought that would look nice on there, so I'm going to go with that. And the other thing that I've done is I've chosen a few other pieces from that paper pack, just to have that same coloring that's going to be brought through the rest of the journal. So if you're using up scraps, keep that in mind. So I'm going to just glue this on here. I'm going to go over a little bit from where that crease line is and just glue this in on this bottom and this side. All right. And I want to make sure that I've got enough room in here, because we might end up using that as a little tuck spot. So we want to be able to get in there. So I've got about 1 inch, so I'm okay. So I'm going to just glue this on, like I said. And the other thing I learned is hold your hand where you don't want to glue. And then you know you can glue the opposite side. And this is pretty sticky glue. So I'm good with that. Remember just to come over just a little bit. And then I also leave a little space at the bottom. And just push that in. All right, next we are going to do a little flippy thingy that she made to go on the top, and that will slide in here at this part here. So I'm going to, I thought that goes pretty nice. And when it flips, it's got yellow, so I can do that. Or I can go back to, I don't want orange. I don't want orange. Okay, so I'm going to find a piece. So when I get the things like the paper packs, I kind of go through and decide if it's two-sided. If I'd like two-sided, I'll pile them somewhere, and if they're one-siders that I don't want to use the back sides, I'll just put those in a separate pile, so I'll know that I've only got those options on top there. But I will know that also with this pile I can go either way. So I thought maybe what I would use here is this one, because it's got the pinks and the blues in it as well. So I'm going to make the next piece with that in mind. Now I'm still going through trying to figure out what piece to put in here, because they're getting a little bit brighter than I was expecting, but I'm just thinking that whatever I put in here has to be about this wide, which is about 3 inches on my book. So it'll fit in there, and it'll flip down. So if that was way shorter, there's going to be a flip, and then these sides are going to be covered. So don't worry so much about what the underneath piece is on this one. So we're going to cover those up with some other little flaps that are going to hold down. So pick your piece, and we'll continue once I've figured out what piece I want. And I may go back to the green again on here. I guess, like I said, for me it's getting a little bit too bright, and I don't really want crazy. But the other thing too is sometimes I just make, if I'm following a tutorial, I'll just make it and not worry so much. Just get the pieces down, and then I'll make make another one later. But they usually turn out pretty good in the end. Just keep considering a few things like, you know, your colors, and you'd be surprised. Now we don't know this yet, but when I'm considering, I know after watching the vids that we're going to have to put a little folio type pocket in here, and I'm going to be using this. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm putting this paper under here, just because I know ahead, but I'm just going to say that. I almost cut it up and then I remembered I want to use that later. So I'm still looking. Maybe I'm not following my own advice and I'm getting too caught up. So let me just grab something real quick. Okay, so this is the piece that I'm going to use for in here. Because when that opens, when we flip these, you're going to see that little bit right there. So, and when that's all closed down, that's gonna look nice, I'm thinking. So I'm going to go with that. Now what we need to do here is get some of this stuff out of the way and carry on with, ooh, that's a nice one. What we're creating here next is going to be a couple of these that are going to go on either side, like that. So, and it'll go in that pocket and it will flip. We're also going to do something on here, so think about how you want your pages here, because we're going to do a little cut in here for a little pocket. So I'm going to go like that and put those on, and basically the tricky part here is now just watching out what you're going to glue. So this one that's going to go under, we're going to glue this totally right down. And we're going to make a little slit pocket in here, and so we're going to only glue around this. So just keep that in mind and follow along. All right, so I'm going to glue that all well around the edges. And I want it fairly even, fairly centered. And then, like I say, then we just put this aside. And we're going to make a little pocket in here for a tag. So I found a little ticket that I want to put in this slot. So I'm going to make sure that I cut the little box big enough to accommodate what I'm going to slip inside of it. So for me, that's like, I'm always losing my ruler. I should have a ruler on the end of our finger, I think. So we should invent that. This is just over 2, all right? So here's how we're gonna do this part. Just thought I'd show you. Here's my notes from Nick's video. This is what I'm working from. Yeah, I know, pretty bad. Yeah. So it's a lot of it is refiguring it and trying to remember. But anyway, let's move on to this part and make this cool little deal. All right, so this is the flip dewey we glued already. And this is stuck down good. You don't want anything, again, to be catching if you're going to be sticking something inside there. And then this one, I want to make sure it's at this end. So when it flips, that's up. And when it's down, that's up. Don't know if that matters, but to me, it does. So I'm going to just make sure that that goes on there. That's how that's going to go. And then this is what's going to go inside. And I have to think about where I want to put this and how wide I want to put that. So I'm going to make a couple of little marks on here. So when it's in, it can stick out a bit, but I don't want it to go too far down. So I'm going to make mine, thinking that that's pretty well centered. I'm going to make my little window opening right about there and there. So it has to be that big. All right. So if you've made the window boxes before, if you haven't, I will show you. So I have a little tiny cutting board, dollar store, not too expensive. The blade that you get isn't the best, so I've got a bigger, heavy duty one, but it works fine. So I've lined this up so I know I'm square, and then I know where I want to put my, and so now I want to make sure that that's lined up with that pretty well, right? And so we'd have to cut it right there. To move it down, just keep an eye that this is pretty straight, you know, and then you'll be okay. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to take my cutters, and those little marks that I made, I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut that. And then I'm going to go down a little titch lower, just a bit, and I'm going to cut again. And then you can take a little punch if you've got one, or you can just cut those edges, and then you pop that piece out. And then you pop that piece out. And there you go. These papers are kind of... All right, so then we have that, which is going to fit on here, and then your little thing is going to slide in. Right, your ticket's going to go in there. Now the only thing is I don't really like what's underneath there, so I'm going to put a piece of paper to cover that up. It's just because, you know, look at that. All right, so I'm going to just cover that little bit. And where do I need to cover it? I'm just going to draw a line on here so I know to cover that. And I'll grab a little piece. Anything will do. Just put it in like that. Rip off your edges, whatever you need, and paste it down. All right. Okay, so I cut that, and I'm going to stick that onto here, and I wanted to show you because we need to remember that we are not going to glue all over. I'm just going to glue around the edges. Okay, so I've glued around the edges, but I can also glue this top part down. That's not a problem. Just don't go below your box, your mailbox. And then put it on the card, making sure it's all nicely lined up. And if you wanted to do your edges, you should maybe do them. I do them later. Just get ink and paint it on. So this will go. Oh, let's get that straight. Come on here, little booga. That's another reason why I use that glue, because I can adjust things if I need to. And all right, so there, after all, we get this. Ta-da! Wow. I wonder why it takes so long. And then this is going to slip in here and sit on there. All right, so we're going to glue this down, and we can glue to about, oh, we got a lot there. I got a lot going in. I don't know if I need that much. I'm gonna cut this just a bit shorter, because I don't know if I got any more of this. I might want to put some more. I'm just gonna take a little bit off, because I need some to stick out. I need some to fold. I need it to be about there. Right, Then that's going to go there. So that's where I have to glue to. So I've got all of this underneath, which I don't need. So I'm going to cut a little bit off. I'll put that little bit in my pile. And I'm just going to glue over the whole bottom of this. And get it in place here. Thinking about how high I want that and how centered I need that to be. And then pushing down. Make sure it looks straight when you're there too. All right. So that is that. Whew. Next we're going to move on to this. Okay, so I'm going to create this little pocket folio file unit on this. That goes on this side, like so. And I'm going to, I'm not sure how much of a flip I'm going to put on there. I'm going to put a button on here and a button on here, so some of this has got to come off. And I'm thinking I'm also going to do a little window on this side. So I've got a die cut, so I'm going to just use a die cutter and cut my window. If you don't have that, just cut a little template out of some cardboard and put that on top. Actually, that's kind of cute. I might just put that on there like that. Let's just do that. I'm going to glue that on there because I like that. And then I'm going to put that piece on there, and I'm going to cut this window right out of all of it. All right, so I'm going to glue and cut. So I ran that all through the die cutter. And I'm going to, and it cut right through pretty good. So I'm going to just save this a little bit. And I've got that stuck down with some washi tape so that it stays in place. And then I'm going to just take this off and put my die away. And then I'll put some acetate on here for a window. And then we'll glue this onto here. And we'll have that. I think I'm going to make it a little smaller though, because okay, so let me get that figured out as to how big I want that. I know I've got the window there and I've got the book coming to there, so I like that. So I might just fold that or cut that right there. I'll probably fold it back a bit. And then I've got this piece here, which I want. I could even go smaller there. Yeah, I'm going to go with that size. So it's just going to go on there. It's going to be big. So that'll look nice when it opens. Alright, so a lot of fiddling, as always. So that's going to go there. That's going to be that flap. That's going to come over and, wrong. That is going to be the flap on this side. So let me make sure I've got it all evened up and scored in the way I want the pocket to be, and then I will show you. Okay, so I ended up with a piece. I've got pretty even edges around my window, and then this piece for me is about 10 inches maybe. So I've got it so that I can close the back and close the flap. like that. And this is where I'm going to put my button so I can make the folio closure. So I'm going to punch out 4 1-inch circles. And I'm going to glue them together so that they're strong. And I'm going to find the center and I'm going to put them on with a grommet, in a grommet. So I'm just going to make a little mark where the center is. And I'm going to think about, so that's going to go there. And the other little one is going to go down here. So I'll just find the center. Think about how far I want to put that. And then put this in the center down here as well. And then do the grommet thing. Alright, to do this, I just punch a hole, hoping it'll fit, and it won't. So I'm going to have to snug this up somehow. So I just folded that under, and I'm going to go to where I think is the center and punch a hole, and then get a grommet. I'm going to go with the darker ones. Put the grommet in, and then secure the grommet. And then we have the grommet on the top. And I mean, I wish I had the big chomper instead of this one. It's more money, but you can do more with it. This one's quite limiting, so keep that in mind. Don't get this little guy. Get the bigger one. It costs a little bit more, but it does more. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to have a big issue because I got to try and fit into there. And like I said, this ain't going to work without a little fandangling. So I'm going to fandangle and get it on, and I'll show you when it's ready. So I got the punch happening here. I actually was grateful for that window had been cut so I could actually wiggle it up to fit. So now I'll just find a grommet and get that on. All right, so I got that attached. Ta-da! And that's the front. And now we'll put the string on. So you just want to make sure that you've got enough string to go around a couple of times. So once, twice, 3 times. Twice is enough for me. And then cut that off. Put your little piece under here and tie it. Tie it underneath that upper flap around that grommet rivet. All right, now you can cut the little tail off, and then this just goes like that. Okie doke. Now we're going to glue this onto this page, and I knew where I wanted to place it, so I cut that tab bit down. You can cut the tab after, but I had put another piece on and I didn't like it, so I'm reinventing the wheel. All right, so I'm going to put it with this part up, right on there. Whoa! Shoot. Shit. Okay, so, oh, that flap there. I'm afraid that flap is pretty weak, so I'm going to have to tape it or something so to secure it. So I've got some of this linen tape. I'm going to use that, but I'm going to let this all dry. I just want to show you how I've attached it. So the flap was on here, so I can attach it. I will reattach it. This is a little bit wet because I got glue where I didn't want glue. All right, so So I know Nick had hers this way. So when you opened it, it was like that, which is kind of nice. So we're gonna go with that, with the same thing. So what we want to do is make sure that this is going to be there, and you'll be able to see that like that. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry, take a minute, and then I will tape this with this tape, and then I'll I know there's going to be something going in here as well, so I'm just going to stick that little card in there for now. She's got something that's kind of more like a little booklet that's going to go that way, slip in like that. So I'm just going to keep that in as my little reminder. I'm going to let everything dry, and then I'm going to tape this, and then we'll carry on to the next part. So it takes time. It takes time. Don't be in a rush. Just do it little bit by bit, and it'll all turn out real nice. All right, you'll be happy in the end. Okay, I promise. All right, this is really long, so I'm going to end it off here, and I'll see you in the next part. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. It's White Raven BookRook on Vancouver Island, where the white ravens live.